Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good day to everyone. I'm Dr. Zubair Azhar from School of Management, University of Science, Malaysia. I'll be delivering the topic on budgeting. So, this topic is going to be spread across a number of slide presentations. And for this particular presentation, the first session, we're going to have a look at the overview of the budgeting. So what we are going to cover in this particular slide presentation will be as follows. The first one, we're going to let the students to have a feeling of the budgeting in terms of how you will understand why organizations use budget. The second is to appreciate the processes involved to create budgets. The third one is to prepare different types of budget. So what do we mean by different types of budget would be, you'll need to prepare a sales budget, you'll need to prepare a production budget, you'll need to prepare a direct materials budget, you will also need to prepare a direct labor budget. Next will be on the manufacturing overhead budget, and lastly on the selling and administrative expense budget. Don't worry about the terms and terminologies used. We shall brief you all these when we reach to the respective slides. And bear in mind that we also need to prepare a master budget. So a master budget will comprise of cash budget, budgeted income statement, and also budgeted balance sheet. So these are all the coverage that we are going to have for this topic in overall. But for the purpose of this particular slide presentation, we're going to have a look at mainly the overview. What do we mean by budget? What are they used for? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of having the budget? Budget is basically refers to a detailed quantitative plan for the acquisition and use of financial and other resources over a given period of time. So mainly, if you want to put it in simple terms, it would mean that it's a future plan that an organization would like to have so that they can make various informed decisions. A budget is a formal statement of estimated income and expenses based on future plans and objectives. So you may want to know what would be the possible income that you will get from doing a business and what sort of expenses that will be associated with conducting business activities. And this would be mainly referred to or associated with something that you expect or anticipate to do in the future, therefore future plans. And it will tie with the objectives of the business. And mainly, most, if not all, business organizations, they are meant to make profit. So of course, they will be very interested to know about the income and expenses. It is also referred to an expression of plans and assessment of how well business goals have been achieved. So budget can also serve as a monitoring tool for the business. So they might want to know whether they are making enough profits according to the targets or not. If they are making sufficient profits according to their plan, that means they are on the right track. So maybe they will know how to maneuver the business in the subsequent phases to come. But if they are not making good progress in terms of making targeted profits, then they should take some remedial actions. And like I said to you, master budget will comprise of the cash budget, budgeted income statement, and budgeted balance sheet. And these are very important statements for business to look at their cash position, whether they are making profits or losses, or the position of their assets, liabilities, and equity. So we will take a look at them later. So now let's take a look. Why do we need to have budgets? What is the rationale of looking at the budget? In this regard, we are going to take a look at the advantages of budgeting. So what are the advantages of budgeting? So as you can see, budgeting forces management to plan for the future. So basically something that they anticipate to do in the future. Therefore, they need to develop an overall direction for the organization, foresees the problems that might come, and also develop future policies for the business. So what sort of income plans that they want to have for the business? So these all will be encapsulated in the budget. The second one, budget helps convey important information about the resources, capabilities of an organization. In this regard, these are very important for making better decisions. And budget also helps organization to set standards that can control the use of organizational resources, as well as control and motivate employees. So without budget, it's difficult for us to see what would be the objective of doing a business. How are you going to make sure that your business is on track, and so on and so forth? Therefore, we need a monitoring mechanism, and therefore budget can set or can serve as control standards for the business to monitor whether they are doing good or not. And this eventually will have an indication of the performance of the organization. In terms of the disadvantages of budgeting, of course, not everything looks fine with the budget. The first one is it lacks of specificity, especially when the amounts allocated in master budgets are already being collected. Act as whole sum of all departments' expenses. So meaning that you are going to get many information from different sources, and these sources can come from the departments in a big organization. So if one organization is functioning and involved, its business involved doing or engaging with massive amount of transactions, of course they will need to refer to certain departments. In one big organization, normally departments will comprise of the IT department, the purchasing department, accounting department, marketing department, and so on and so forth. So these departments will have their own expenses and revenue that they're going to churn out of it. And this will be reflected in terms of how we perceive as responsibility accounting. So will involve different responsibility centers. We'll come to that later. The second is difficult to read and update. The extension of master budget depends on organization scale. So if the organization is very big, then it's going to be very complicated, and therefore it will make it very tedious to prepare and also to evaluate. It is more difficult for large-scale organizations in maintaining, update, and read due to many charts and descriptions. The third one is time-consuming. So the amount of time required would be devoted in creating master budget, especially in a poorly organized environment. So those organizations that are not so systematic, they might have more problems in terms of managing their budgets. And also, blame for outcomes. Employees will be blamed, or they will blame each other basically, in not supporting the department in meeting the desired targets. So this can also be a problem when we use the budget, because it's difficult to get to know what are the sources of problems, where does it come from, and who is responsible for that problem. And that will create strategic rigidity. So it is a common thing that managers will attract to focus fully in striving to achieve the targets outlined in the budget. Therefore, strategies planned with rigidly aim to attain the target will lead to catastrophe to the organization. So these are basically the overview for auditing. Thank you.